All right, let's dive into the world of Azure Functions. In this explainer, we're going to follow the entire developer journey all the way from that very first line of code to getting it running confidently up in the cloud.
If you're a developer, this question probably hits close to home. It's the classic story, right? You just want to write cool code that solves real problems, but instead you find yourself getting totally bogged down with provisioning servers, patching them, scaling them. It's a huge time sink. And this is exactly the headache that serverless computing, and Azure Functions specifically, is designed to cure.
So, what are we really talking about here? Well, at its heart, Azure Functions is what's called an event-driven serverless compute service. The whole idea is beautifully simple. You focus on writing your code, the business logic that actually matters, and you let Azure handle all the messy infrastructure stuff behind the scenes. This means way less overhead for you. And here's the best part, it can save you a ton on costs because you literally only pay for the compute time you use. Okay, so here's our roadmap for this journey. First, we'll cover the basics, what Azure Functions actually are. Then we'll get into the real magic, triggers and bindings. After that, we'll tackle the big decision of choosing a hosting plan, walk through some crucial architecture best practices, and wrap up with what it takes to operate your functions in a real production environment. So let's start right there with that fundamental promise of Azure Functions. It's all about freeing you up to concentrate on what you do best, writing code, instead of worrying about the servers it's going to run on. So what can you actually build with this stuff? Well, the use cases are incredibly broad. For example, you could automatically process thumbnails for images the second they get uploaded. Or you could run a scheduled task, like a database cleanup job, every single night at 2 a.m. You can build out super scalable web APIs, create entire serverless workflows, or even have your code react instantly to changes happening in your database. See the pattern here? The core idea is always the same. Some event happens, and your code runs in response. Now, let's pull back the curtain and look at the engine that makes all this work. We're talking about triggers and bindings. You can think of them as the glue that connects your code to all those outside events and data sources without you having to write tons of boring boilerplate connection code. I love this slide because the analogy just makes it all click. Think of the trigger as the doorbell. It's the one single thing that causes your function to run. An HTTP request comes in, a new message lands in a queue, ding dong, your code executes. And a function can only have one doorbell. Bindings, on the other hand, are the plumbing. They connect your function to other resources to get data in or send data out. You can have lots of plumbing, maybe an input binding that reads from blob storage and an output binding that writes a result to a database. It's all declarative, which is super powerful. Okay, next up is a really big one. Seriously, the hosting plan you pick is probably the single most critical architectural decision you'll make for your function app. It impacts everything, your monthly bill, your app's performance, everything. So, here are the main players. You've got the consumption plan, which is that classic serverless model where you truly pay nothing when your code isn't running. Then there's the premium plan, which gives you pre-warmed, always-on instances to kill any startup delays, absolutely essential for things like user-facing APIs. Flex consumption is a newer, kind of hybrid option that gives you great cost efficiency plus some premium features like VNet support. And finally, the dedicated plan lets you run your functions on your existing app service infrastructure, which is perfect for predictable, steady workloads.
Now, this brings us to the key trade-off that developers wrestle with all the time: consumption versus premium. With consumption, you get that amazing cost savings because it can scale all the way down to zero. But you have to be aware of the potential for a cold start, a slight delay when your function runs for the first time after being idle. The premium plan completely solves that problem with its always-on instances, giving you instant response times, but at a higher, more predictable price. And choosing wrong here is such a classic pitfall. Putting a latency-sensitive API on a consumption plan can lead to a really sluggish user experience. And hey, speaking of cold starts, it's not a static problem that you just have to live with. The Azure team is constantly chipping away at it. In fact, check this out. Over the last year and a half, they've managed to slash cold start latency by a massive 53% across the entire platform, just with behind-the-scenes improvements. That's a huge win that benefits absolutely everyone.
Okay, so you've picked your plan. Now what? How do you go from just writing code to building a truly high-quality, robust application? Well, this is where we can lean on the principles of the Microsoft Azure well-architected framework and apply them directly to our serverless design. The framework is built on these 5 pillars, and it really forces you to think about the whole picture. For serverless, reliability isn't just about being up. It's about things like planning for retries. Security means using tools like managed identities. Cost optimization is about, you guessed it, picking the right plan like we just talked about. Operational excellence is all about automating your deployments. And performance efficiency, well, that's where we tackle things like cold starts head on. So, what can you actually do to boost performance? This is a fantastic, practical checklist. For example, running your function from a package file is way faster because the system doesn't have to do thousands of tiny file reads on startup. If you're using .NET, publishing with a feature called Ready to Run pre-compiles your code, which means less work for the system to do when your function first starts. And of course, if you're on a premium or flex plan, you can just use warm-up triggers or always ready instances to pretty much eliminate cold starts altogether. All right, we've arrived at the final stage, running your application in production. This is where the rubber meets the road, where reliability and operational excellence are everything. And it really all boils down to two key things: having great visibility and solid automation. This quote is just gospel when it comes to production systems. Without proper observability, without being able to see what's going on, you are completely flying blind. You can't possibly fix a performance bottleneck or figure out why your failure rate is spiking if you don't even know it's happening in the first place. And this is exactly why a tool like Application Insights is an absolute game changer. It's so much more than just a place to see error logs. We're talking about getting deep visibility, tracing a single user request as it flows through multiple functions and services, spotting that a database call is suddenly taking 500 milliseconds longer than it should. You even get a real-time live metrics view, so you can watch your app's health during a deployment. It's basically your eyes and ears inside your production environment. And the other half of that production confidence comes from your deployment process. A modern CI/CD pipeline, like this example using GitHub Actions, automates the whole thing from start to finish. A simple file defines your build environment, it compiles and packages your code, and then it securely deploys it to Azure. It's consistent, it's repeatable, and it completely eliminates those, well, it works on my machine moments for good. So there you have it. We've gone from a simple line of code all the way to a production-ready app in the cloud. We've seen how Functions lets you focus on your logic, how crucial it is to pick the right hosting plan, and how to build and operate your app using proven best practices. So the only real question left is, for that next project you're thinking about, that next event-driven task or scalable API, is serverless the right tool for the job?